Ervin Bull, B-U-L-L, same as male cow.
Okay. What is your birthday and your current age?
January 31, 1925, and I'm 77 years and almost 78.
Okay. And what do you used to do for a living?
Well, I was, me and my wife lived on a farm. We milked cows for 22 years, 4 months, and 13 days. Do you know what cow milkers are? Or have you ever been on a farm?
Yeah.
No. Well, that's what we did, and then I fed cattle. Lost all the money ever made milking in cattle feeding business.
Okay. And then, how did you come to live in Elkhorn?
Well, I was born here, 1 mile south of Dodge Street on 204th and Pacific. You know where that is?
Okay.
And it's now Sky Ranches. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Describe what downtown Elkhorn looked like.
I never had anybody.
Well, I guess it had 2 streets. You know, the lower street and the upper street. And Bill Hell's butcher shop was on the upper street, and Bill Sharp's butcher shop was on the lower street. When I was a kid, Bill Sharp had a sign in the window that said, "If you don't like Sharp's meat, you can go to hell." And that's the truth. And I faintly remember when the bank on the upper street was robbed. And I don't know, that was about 1931 or something. Maybe I'm off by a year or 2. But my Grandpa Bull and Bill Glad Sr. built the biggest building in Elkhorn in 1919 and 1920. And of course, you had a picture here where it burned in 1965 or something, or 87.
Oh, the dance hall?
Yes, that was the ballroom. I mean, it had 3 businesses on the lower floor.
Okay. Would you like to you can tell me anything about the railroad, Kiner Saloon, the banks, and Old Lincoln Highway?
The old Lincoln Highway was built, I think, in 1925, or come through Elkhorn in 1925. And Dodge Street, 4-lane Dodge Street was built in 1935. And then I think they made the overpass or underpass on Dodge in 1936. In 1937, you know, from Dodge Street to Q Street, you know where that is? That's 4 miles, and they graded that land with horses. And today, they have all kinds of machinery, and it takes them weeks and months and years. But they did it with horses, and then the next year they paved it. And if you know, they just are redoing it the last couple of years, are they not?
Yeah.
But that pavement was still there good since 1938.
And anything about the railroad? Did you ever ride the trains? Or?
No, I never rode the train. In you know, it used to be that the Union Pacific had about 4 or 5 passenger trains came through Elkhorn every day between 10:45 and 11:45. And one time, my father's old Model A Ford car stalled right on the railroad track, and I was only about 3 or 4 years old. And he had somebody come and they helped him push it off the track. Just as a Challenger went by, they had a couple trains they called the Challenger. And of course, then my dad pretty near fainted because here I was just standing up in the back seat, and they got it pushed off the track in time.
Oh Lord. Okay. Do you remember anything about like the first couple banks? Like you said, there was the one that had the robbery.
Yes, the robbery in 1931, I believe. It was on the Upper Street.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I had forgotten that they had a robbery in 1965 or something. I didn't live here. I was living in Utah then, because I met a girl from Utah and then I married her. And then I had to go live there.
Okay. Do you remember anything from your school days or any stories from your school days and what school you went to?
Well, my dad was very fire conscious, and we had old green silk curtains, you know, where we'd have our own Christmas play or program.
Yeah.
And of course had a little Christmas tree with live candles on it, and about gave my dad a heart attack because of that fire danger, you know, and that silk would burn very fast if it did. And of course, when I was in I think the 4th grade, one of our fellow students, he was a 4th or 5th grader, and his dad had a birthday on the previous Saturday, and then, of course, the company came and they always passed out a cigar to every man. Well, there was a few cigars left over, and of course, this fella, he brought one of the cigars to school, and while us boys, we went into the, do you know what an outdoor toilet is?
Yeah.
Well, we went down there and lit it up and had a few puffs, okay. Then at recess, we went and had a few puffs again, and then at noon, one of the boys, him and his sister shared a thermos of cocoa. You know what a thermos bottle is. And of course we'd had a couple puffs before we went to eat lunch, and then and of course the sister smelled the smoke on it, Beth, and of course she was immediately really had to tell the teacher, and of course all us boys, we were the public enemies #1, and we all had to stay after school, and then I had 2 sisters, an older one and a younger one, and they went home, and of course they were aghast. And my father was supposed to, I don't know, do something bad to me when I got home. Then he was in the barn milking, and of course my mother sent me to the barn to get punished. And of course he knew all about it, what had happened, and then he got out from under the cow, and he come up to me and he said, and then all at once he started laughing. He says, "Why in hell did you start on cigars?" and of course when we went to the house, then he was more stern, because my sisters figured I should get really a thrashing. But I never smoked again until I got into service in World War II. But then later on, one day I had an accident in the farming, and I cut my finger off, and all I had was a quarter in my pocket. That was in September 1 of 1952, and went to the doctor, sewed the finger back on. And then, I mean, it wasn't clear off, but, and I went around had the fella take me around by the tavern to get a new pack of cigarettes, and that day, they put a new tax on them, so cigarettes were 30 cents a pack. And all I had was a quarter, so I said, you can just, I only have a quarter, so give me a can of Prince Albert and some paper, you got papers for free, and free matches. So then I rolled my own until 1979, except on Sunday, because you know, do you know anything about that? Roll your own cigarettes. Well, then I had wheat straw papers for a few years, and everybody thought I was smoking marijuana, but it was really the brown wheat straw papers. Well, that's the truth. But I quit smoking in 1979 And now today, cigarettes are terrible high. It cost me 20 cents a week to roll my own. And now it's, what, 20 cents a cigarette, something like that. I'm doing all the talking, you're supposed to ask the questions.
Oh, it's good you're supposed to talk.
Oh.
Okay. Do you remember anything about local celebrations like dances or parades or
Well,
anything?
sure, I went to all the dances I could because that's all we had to do.
Did you go, where were the dances?
Well, in that building that burned down,
The,
in the ball. And later on, a man named Harry Danker owned it. It was called Danker's Ballroom. And I went to so many dances there, I never counted them. I didn't keep track.
okay, oh, one thing about the schools. Which school did you go to?
Well, District 13, Iron Bluffs, which is, a mile or half mile south of Pacific Street, if you know what Pacific Street is, on the west side of the road. And I think Colin Custard and his family live there today. That was called the Iron Bluffs School, District number 13.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you about Elkhorn's growth and how do you feel about that, and do you like it better as a small town?
Well, I haven't lived here, since 1949, and of course I can't keep up with the growth because it changes every time I come home. And of course, my parents lived here until my dad died in 1967, and my mother in 1986. But would come visit them. And of course, I mean, it kept growing so fast, I couldn't keep up with it.
Okay, now I just want you to tell me anything, any stories, anything you remember. Just go off, just tell me anything.
Well, I told you about when I smoked in school, and nobody's supposed to do that. Well, in about 1940, we had the Douglas County corn shucking contest. Let's see, where was it? Just north of Elkhorn, I think. Do you know what hand corn shucking is? It was, you would grab the ear and then take the husk off and then throw it in the wagon, in the box wagon. Anyhow, I had a contest and they weren't pulling by horses, but I had to drive a tractor pulling a wagon. And anyhow, then they had the big celebration in Danker's Ballroom for that night, and then a fella from Waterloo, he got too much to drink and he went home and run off the road and killed himself. And he lived at Waterloo, if you know where Waterloo is.
Yeah.
Well, he's always laughing.
Do you have any other interesting or funny stories?
I'll probably think of something after I'm gone. Well,
What do you remember specifically about the Lincoln Highway?
oh,
It was, well, of course, that was main road.
Yeah.
It ran
Oh.
all the way
now you don't remember when, the Lincoln Highway went through
Yeah.
Elkhorn. And there's a little bit of brick road out here yet, isn't there?
Yeah.
About a mile east of
That
town.
was all.
But anyhow, it came through and on the lower street, and then at Damit's Tavern, it went west. Anyhow, in 1935, it was either, yeah, I think the 3rd of July was on a Wednesday night, and every Wednesday we had free movies in town. Do you know what free movies were? It was, oh, really? That was a big thing. Don't laugh. Anyhow, and of course my dad had given me I think a whole quarter for the 4th of July, and all those boys, we were standing on right in front of where it used to be Ella Dearson's drugstore, or where the old Farmer State Bank was. We were throwing, lighting these firecrackers and throwing them out in the street. And anyhow, I was trying to be a big brave boy from like the other town boys, and I let one and threw it out, and there was a car going by, and it went right in the back window and exploded in this lady's lap. And anyhow, and it was a whole bunch of people going out to the Lakes and Valley for the 4th of July, but then they were going through Elkhorn. And anyhow, of course, all the smart town kids, they run up the alleys and escape, and I stood there so scared. And then here come the car stopped and backed up, and then of course the man, he said, "Who did that? Who did that?" And of course I said, "I did." And here the biggest, strongest lady in Elkhorn saved me. Her name was Cleo Dearson. Her maiden name, her married name was Cleo Nelson. And she prevented the guy from hanging me or whatever, because it burned a hole in the lady's arm. And anyhow, so she saved me, but that was the last time I played with firecrackers.
I can relate to that.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have told that.
Let's see. I don't know, anything you want to say about Elkhorn?
Yeah, I think it was.
Well, like I told you, I didn't live in town, but I lived 2 miles south. 1935 and 36 was a terrible, terrible winter. From January 15th about or January 7th until about February 7th, 30 days, it never got above zero. Even in the daytime, it never got above zero. And everybody had a tough time surviving. And my dad, we were going to town with a box wagon to get some groceries and get some coal. And I begged to go along. And then I had long underwear on and overcoats and everything else. But then a neighbor fellow came along and picked me up and took me, so I didn't have to ride in the box wagon all the way to town. But of course that was really cold.
It sort of made you hard yourself. Not get out on.
I could tell stories, but that would be some from Newtown, and then that would be related to Elkhorn. Oh, and 1938, the Elkhorn High School basketball team went to the state tournament in Lincoln. And at that time, in the old Coliseum, you don't know what that is, but that's where they play volleyball today. But that was the main basketball court. Anyhow, they played on the main court and then on the freshman court, and then they played on the stage. 3 games at once, but Elkhorn lost in the first or second game. Then 1941, we went to the state tournament and got beaten by St. Francis of Humphrey. There's still a St. Francis of Humphrey High School today in Humphrey, Nebraska, if you know where that is. That's in Platte County, north of Columbus. Do you know where Columbus is? Really? I have a daughter and family live in Columbus. So I know where Humphrey is because Columbus is in Platte County. I'm probably boring you with all his stories. Well, now the camera's still running and during all this vacant space, and I'm not saying anything.
Well, we can edit it.
Oh. Oh, I'm just trying to think. Of course, you know, when you get to be a pretty 100 years old, your brain gets duller.
What about FDR?
What?
FDR?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Were you
Franklin D.
gonna-
Roosevelt? Well, sure. I remember when Franklin D. Roosevelt, he came to Waterloo and went to the old Gus Sumnick farm, which is south of Waterloo. And that was in 1932. And of course, then he was president until 1945 when he died.
Did you ever see him?
No, never saw him in person. My dad did, because he went to see him when he was at the Gus Sumnick farm in 1932.
They made a big book on him.
No, and I never saw Harry Truman either, but you know, I remember him well, because he was old Give 'em Hell Harry. You know, he had the sign on his desk, he says, "The buck stops here," because you can't pass the buck any farther. You know what that expression means? When you're trying to get out of your duties, you pass the buck to somebody else. And so Harry Truman said, "The buck stops here," on his desk.
Do you remember anything else about the government or anything like that back then, or like the Great Depression, things like that?
Well, yeah, the Great Depression, and of course I wasn't old enough to, we had the drought at the same time.
Yeah.
You couldn't raise anything. And every farmer lived by the cow and the sow and the hen. I mean, you had a few cows to milk and a few sows to raise pigs and a few hens to raise eggs. And but of course they don't do that anymore. And at that age, I didn't understand what the Depression was. And didn't even know we were poor, because everybody was about equally poor.
Yeah.
But if we could go to Elkhorn to see the free movies, well, that was a big treat.
What types of movies did you see?
But,
What types of movies did you go to see when you went and saw the free movies?
oh, a lot of Western movies, and no, I forget their names, but a big treat was when Joe Louis beat Max Schmeling in the heavyweight championship of the world. We got to see that, a film of that, in about 1936. Of course, now you see everything instantly with TV and internet, computers. I'm so old-fashioned, I don't even have a computer. I have to write everything out in longhand.
I don't think that computers, they can be annoying because they can break down and they do funky
Well,
stuff.
yeah, and then
They do.
we thought about buying one, but then in 2 or 3 years it's outdated and you gotta get a different one. Well, of course, I'm getting outdated too. Well, I probably talked too long now. Well, you get somebody else is waiting to be interviewed.
Nope. You have a full hour.
My gosh.
You have till 2:30.
Well, me and my wife, we had 4 daughters and no boys. Now we got 9 grandsons. And I don't know if you noticed, my wife has a sweatshirt on with, she's got 12 hearts on it, and that's her 12 grandchildren. And one of my grandsons is in Kuwait now, in the Marines. And we all know what a mess our world is in.